What is going on, Woodward Bets Nation? We are back here on an icy Thursday here in the Metro Detroit area, but we hope to bring the fire here today. Beer and Scott in the house. Scott, how are we doing, my man? I know it's cold. The old people like yourself, the cold hits just a little bit harder, so I know you're struggling through these cold days here. How are we doing, my man?
Yeah, it is cold. I thought I saw a tweet from our own Terry Foster that said it feels like somebody's stabbing you in the face with a knife when you go outside. It's so cold. Had to go get the garbage cans from out in the curb and wheeling them back into the yard. And, you get a shoe full of snow and, because I'm too lazy to put on my boots, I run out there in my tennis shoes and then you step in the snow and then you get a whole sock full of snow. I mean, yeah, this shit's cold, man. But, hey, it's Michigan. It's only like 6-8 weeks. We're good. Hopefully the sun will be out. But, yeah, I'll tell you what was cold was that damn Red Wing team of ours in that first period last night. Shit, they got their ass beat 4-0 there. I mean, after the first goal, I'm like, all right, it's only one. We'll see what happens. Then the second one, I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good. And then the third one, I just shut the computer, went on about my night, and, hey, it worked out all right. The other ones went 1-1, but we still are on a pretty hot roll. We only have 2 losses going into Thursday. Isn't a bad thing, though, Chris.
Absolutely. Not a bad night last night. We're going to start recapping these in the beginning of the show. I know we like to throw the record up there on the whiteboard, but there it is, Spencer, the Wizard, behind the glass. We appreciate that. So, like you said, Red Wings struggled a little bit, 8-5 in that one. So maybe, hopefully some people had the over. I mean, that thing smashed. You did have the Miami Heat covering -5, so good call there. The over-under in that Memphis game, right on the number. So, push, people say it's just as good as a win. A push is a push. You didn't lose. Mine, we talked pre-show. Probably should have known better that, I was stressing the 9 wins the Orlando Magic had. They were winning the majority of the game, let the Clippers come back on them late and kind of run away with things. So that one fell short, but 2 for 3 for me last night. Chicago comes through at home. That spread felt a little bit low. And that Phoenix, Scott, I said it was a little bit disrespectful. Utah without Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and we're only talking 1.5 point spread for potentially the best team in the Western Conference, and they win easily. So, sometimes those lines kind of jump off the page, and that Phoenix one certainly did last night. So brings us to 11 wins, 2 losses, and 3 ties. So, if anybody out there not happy with that kind of performance, exactly, that's what we should be doing. That's what we are doing. So far, so good this week, and we'll get you some more bets here towards the end of the show. Scott, any other thoughts on last night, some of the action that we saw? Michigan was certainly in play as well, and kind of, again, I didn't put it in the best bets, but I was a little worried that they're looking ahead to Michigan State. Maybe Northwestern sneaks up on them a little bit, and Michigan escapes with a win, gets that W, but Northwestern ends up covering that spread. So any thoughts on that? Anything else that you saw last night in the sporting world?
Yeah, they did struggle. Good thing that thing wasn't at 7 o'clock, Chris. I might have had a little bit more action in on that one. That 6:30 start kind of threw me off a little bit, but yeah, I mean, you were right. They are looking ahead here to Michigan State, Northwestern. It just seems like they could never pull ahead. They were always up by 4, 5, 6 points. They just never could get that run to get ahead. But, I mean, they did pull out the victory, but obviously they did not cover. But, yeah, big game this weekend between the 2 in-state rivals here. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I think there's going to be some shit talking, especially after the last one they had that supposedly, Michigan State likes to say that Michigan ducked them on that one, but Hunter Dickinson had COVID, and we'll see what happens there. But looking forward to that one there. I think that one should be a good game, but as a Michigan fan, Chris, a little bit concerned about this one here. I think the Sparties are rubbing their hands together waiting for this one. I think they're just waiting for Michigan to come in there, and I think they're gonna lay a whooping on them, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll certainly dig into that one big time on our Saturday show. Make sure you're setting that alarm, getting up early Saturday, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock here with you on the show. But A little housekeeping. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter. We appreciate that at Woodward Bets. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, make sure you are leaving that review for us there. Spread the word. We want more people here joining us. If you're in that YouTube chat, welcome to you guys. Let's talk about sports for tonight. So you guys have any questions, things like that, we are happy to talk some sports there. And make sure you are following the network as well at Woodward Sports. Some great shows all throughout the day. The morning show, a great way to get started. Big D Energy. We got the bottom line. I mean, tons of stuff going on here on the network. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Make sure you're plugged in. Give those Twitter follows across the board for all these great shows. And, of course, the Woodward Heavyweights, new podcast here on the network. Make sure you're giving those guys a listen as well. Scott, I want to touch on some coaching news here in the NFL. So we talked about Sean Payton yesterday stepping down as the coach of the New Orleans Saints. We're already starting to hear the rumors, and we talked about it yesterday. Sean Payton certainly has those connections to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, any team that's going to bring in Sean Payton, he is still under contract with the Saints, I believe, for 3 more years, I think it is. So any team that's looking to bring him in is going to have to fire up some compensation for Sean Payton. But Jerry Jones, that guy's pockets never end. So do you see this as a move? Sean Payton's comments yesterday certainly seemed like a guy that's stepping away for a little bit and going to kind of evaluate his options. But you got to think, if there's one job out there that he's got his eyes on, it's to go back to Dallas. I mean, everything is in place. You have your quarterback. You have weapons on the offensive side of the ball. You have an up-and-coming defense with some young stars on it, and you have an owner who will spend $1 gajillion to get you a Super Bowl. Do you see this move happening, or do they stick with Mike McCarthy?
I'll tell you what, it's a perfect – all the moons are lined up there for Peyton to go there. I think that, it'd be a good move for him, I actually think. And I actually think if Jerry Jones could maybe not meddle and try to, be Jerry Jones and just let Peyton coach the team, I think they'd have a really good shot. I mean, the NFL to me is more of a chess match of coaches than any other sport. So, hey, you get a known, proven winner to come into Dallas with that roster they have. It always seems like Dallas has got a pretty good roster. It just seems like they make boneheaded moves or mistakes or whatever else, and it seems to bite them in the ass. But, yeah, I thought it was interesting. I saw that, Peyton was going to go into Dallas and was talking with Jerry. I thought, oh, boy, this means McCarthy. He can't be happy. You can't convince me Peyton's coming in there to interview as the offensive coordinator for any of the coordinator jobs. That's just not happening. But,
no.
Yeah, interesting one there, Chris. I think it would not surprise me at all if we heard that maybe it would be like Peyton is coming on as some sort of a advisor, and then all of a sudden, give it a month or two, McCarthy's fired and Peyton is, put in as the coach. But very interesting. I thought that was a interesting piece of news today in the NFL. Of course, Jerry wants to have all kinds of news right around the big times he always seems to be a headline stealer too. So I could see something, he's going to try to do something to get himself in the headlines.
Yeah, for sure. So Chicago, they have a head coach now, Matt Eberflus from Indianapolis. So he gets the Chicago job. We're starting to see some of the dominoes, going back and forth now. Jacksonville, obviously, it sounded like Byron Leftwich was the guy. Maybe not so much, so we got to back that stance off a little bit. Vic Fangio now in the mix in Jacksonville. We have Leftwich now being requested to interview with New Orleans, so they're clearly looking at head coachings around the league. Aaron Glenn, locally here, his first season with the Lions as a defensive coordinator, also going to interview down in New Orleans. As we know, connections down there, former defensive back coach for the New Orleans Saints. So we knew it was a matter of time before this coaching carousel started getting going. It's slowly turning, but one big name off the market, Dan Quinn, a guy, Dallas's defensive coordinator, former head coach with the Atlanta Falcons, did a ton of interviews and says he's going back to Dallas. So he's coming back to be that defensive coordinator. Maybe that's a move. If they aren't happy with McCarthy, maybe they bump him up to the head coach there. Maybe that's part of his returning to Dallas. A little surprising, Scott. I thought Dan Quinn would certainly land one of these jobs. You know, he's one of the bigger names along with Brian Flores, Peyton, if you want to throw him in the mix here now. But a little surprising to see him go back to Dallas. You know, maybe he ends up in that spot. McCarthy's seat has certainly got to be a little bit hot right now.
I mean, it should be. I mean, that guy. I mean, he's just awful. I mean, even in Green Bay, you heard rumblings of how upset Aaron Rodgers would get with them in certain situations, and we just seen it here recently with Dallas. I mean, who in the hell calls a quarterback sneak with 13 seconds left with no time? And I mean, that was just one of the more asinine play calls. And then he defended it like it was the right thing to do, and they practiced it. I mean, that was even more mind-boggling for me. But yeah, I mean, these coaches changing. I was just trying to see if FanDuel or somebody had any kind of betting odds or anything, certain coaches to land in certain spots. Didn't see anything, but I know sometimes you can catch that kind of stuff on there. But definitely interesting. I'm just glad Caldwell didn't end up with the Bears, so we had to deal with him for 2 games a year.
Right. Yeah, that would have been interesting for sure. So other NFL news, Tyrann Mathieu back at practice today for the Chiefs. We saw him have to leave that game early. It almost cost him, Scott. I mean, the Bills went nuclear on that secondary once he wasn't back there. Gabriel Davis, 4 touchdowns. So a welcome addition to get him back in that secondary for the Kansas City Chiefs. But let's talk some local football. And I'm not talking Michigan. I'm not talking Michigan State. We're not talking the Lions. We're talking the Michigan Panthers, baby. Big announcement today. Jeff Fisher named the new head coach of the Michigan Panthers. Obviously, a name you're familiar with, a former coach of the Rams, the Titans, a guy that's got perennially, I mean, the joke is always out there. 8-8 seemed to be the record for Jeff Fisher year in and year out. We have not seen him, I believe, 5 years now. So a big name, though. We always love to see these guys, these names bring some legitimacy to the league here with the USFL. How excited are you for Michigan Panthers football led by new head coach Jeff Fisher?
I mean, you're right. I mean, Jeff Fisher is pretty much a 500 coach. I mean, just kind of looking at his win-loss record here, he was, let's see, 173 and 165 and 1 tie. So, I mean, that's pretty close to 5 career. I mean, over 300 and some games. But, yeah, I mean, every year here you kind of look, 8, 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, 7. He's always around that 500 mark. But, hey, I'll be interested to see what kind of product they put out there for the USFL. I mean, we'll see if, it's more of a gimmicky type thing or if it's more of an actual, some guys that are just borderline NFL players that maybe need some reps. And, we'll see some quarterbacks maybe or so develop out of this league. But, yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. We can always do some football at that time of the year.
Yeah, kind of fills the gap. So obviously it's not going to be NFL caliber football, but I'm looking forward to it, and we'll have some competition. We got some other leagues firing up as well here. So the names will continue to be dropping here. Head coaches, some player names that you're familiar with. We'll see if Johnny Football resurfaces here, and then that'll be a big name. But excited to see this thing come together. And anytime there's fantasy, there's betting. Scott, I'm in. Football especially. So can't wait to see what this league looks like. Other news, the big story of the day in the NFL, kind of bearing the lead here. Ben Roethlisberger officially retiring from the NFL to no surprise. I think we all saw this coming for Big Ben. But, Scott, let's talk about his resume. Hall of Fame is always the question here with a guy like Big Ben. So, 5th all-time in yardage. We're talking 64,000 passing yards. 8th in touchdowns, 418. From a betting perspective, which doesn't have much to do with the Hall of Fame, but we are Woodward Bets. We got to take a look at that. Big Ben, just about 50% against the number in his career, 114 and 108. So 50.6% against the spread for Ben Roethlisberger. So he kind of falls short of profitability, Scott. When we measure in that minus 110, he's down to 52%. Thrived as an underdog, though, 33-22, 60% against the spread, 81-86-3 as a favorite. So slightly underperformed when playing the good teams out there. Thoughts on Big Ben? Some of those betting statistics just for fun here, but is he a Hall of Famer? I mean, the numbers certainly back it up. The postseason success backs it up. Do you believe Big Ben Roethlisberger is an NFL Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I believe he's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer, actually, Chris. I mean, two Super Bowls, the longevity that he had. I mean, he's gonna, he put himself in the Terry Bradshaw conversation. Pittsburgh is the one of the best quarterbacks of the franchise history. But yeah, those numbers there you were reading there against the spread. I mean, the guy was just, obviously a decent quarterback. They, how many winning seasons they had in a row. I mean, he was just short of being a profitable betting quarterback. If you bet on him, you're, the whole time, just barely fell short. But I did read, Chris, that actually he is the worst quarterback since he began playing in 2004 against the spread of being a double-digit favorite. He was 11-20 in those situations against the spread. So he was only generally at about 30%, 33% or so. So he actually finished as the worst quarterback as a double-digit favorite. But, yeah, Big Ben had a Hall of Fame career. I know he had some controversy along the way. But, I mean, you can't argue the guy. I mean, he did have some good receivers along the way. And you'll think back and, how many of these guys that he had were kind of head cases, turned out to be head cases later on. He did keep them together, got a couple Super Bowl wins. And for me, he's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe not in the betting Hall of Fame. When we start our own, Woodward Bets Hall of Fame, he's probably not going to qualify with some of those numbers. But obviously, the success, like I mentioned, the Super Bowls, the passing yards, the touchdowns, checking all the boxes. And we've talked about this before, but there was those years, Scott, stacking Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown was money in the bank. I mean, that won a lot of people a lot of money over those couple seasons when that offense was just so electric. It was so condensed. You knew that those two guys were going to get so many touches, and Ben was going to be involved throwing it to Le'Veon, throwing it to Brown. I mean, it just was a beautiful thing back in the day. So he's in the DFS Hall of Fame, that's for sure, and I agree with you. I think, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer. So if you're in the chat, let us know. Agree, disagree, some of the transgressions off the field, take away from, his Hall of Fame resume. Let us know. Submit your vote. Ben Roethlisberger, Hall of Fame or not. Scott, one more coaching note, and we'll tie that in to another quarterback. I kind of forgot. Pertaining to my team, I'm kind of putting this on the back burner, but Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator from Green Bay, headed to Denver. So they fill their head coaching vacancy here. We heard whisperings. We heard a lot of rumors last season that Denver would be the spot for Aaron Rodgers. I even saw some of the trade packages that were put together back and forth. I don't know if they were officially between the teams, probably not. But so where there's smoke, there's fire. Rodgers a big proponent of Hackett. You start connecting these dots. We know he's unhappy in Green Bay. We can look at the weapons that they have in Denver, and it is an appealing spot. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Javonte Williams, one of the best young running backs in the league, and a good defense. Now, what kind of hit are you going to take? Trying to fit that salary and who do you lose out on? But thoughts on this? Aaron Rodgers potentially a Denver Bronco next season, yay or nay?
I could definitely see that, Chris. I mean, that would be quite the interesting move for me. I mean, now you're going to be in a division with Mahomes and Herbert. Ooh, that's going to be nice. And then you still got to beat Josh Allen on that side in the AFC, I think, and Burrow. I mean, you're kind of looking at, man, that conference would be loaded. I mean, I'd rather stay in the NFC. You don't seem to have as much competition at this point. But that would definitely be interesting, man. That division would be one hell of a division. You have Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, and Herbert in that division. Oh, man, the Raiders, you'd be in trouble there. I mean, you guys don't get something going over there. But, man, I think that would be interesting. And you're right. I think where there's smoke, where there's fire. We already know Green Bay is a little bit in trouble as far as the salary cap, being able to add guys. They may have to be cutting guys. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, does a guy like Devontae Adams maybe follow along with them? And now you'd add Adams over there to the Broncos and Rodgers. I think that is interesting. But yeah, Chris, I would not doubt one bit here if the Broncos really go after Aaron Rodgers now.
Yeah, I'm looking at some odds. This is from Odds Checker on Twitter. This is from a couple days ago, though, and it's just something fun. But Aaron Rodgers' next team: Green Bay minus 225, Denver plus 250, Pittsburgh plus 350, Miami plus 450. So, if he really is that big of a fan of Nathaniel Hackett, it makes sense. Hackett can almost guarantee. Rodgers does not have to come back to Green Bay, so. Interviewing for that job, you wonder if that was part of the conversation. Like, hey, we'll give you this job. All you got to do is land us the big fish and bring Aaron Rodgers in with you. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I get asked all the time, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this whole Aaron Rodgers situation? And it's tough to, the Lions fans are going to be like, hey, F you. I mean, poor you. You got 18 years of Aaron Rodgers. We don't feel bad for you. Here's what I'll say. Obviously, it would be a big loss. I'm not going to go super in depth on this. I'm sure we're going to talk it to death here over the next couple of weeks and months. But huge loss on the football field. Jordan Love does not look ready to go. I don't know that he's the long-term answer. They invested that first-round pick in him, so he's going to get his opportunities. I don't think they're just going to, throw him back on the sidelines, try to bring somebody else in. Maybe a trade with Denver nets you Drew Lock. Not very excited about that either. But off the field, Scott, the drama and the whole vaccine thing and just all the stuff that he does away from the field, I'm done with the drama. And again, I get it. Most of you listening are Lions fans, and I don't expect you to feel sorry for me. That's not what I'm looking for here. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. That I don't want to see your toes. I don't want to see your man bun anymore. I appreciate everything he did. It was amazing to watch the guy. No doubt. I have zero issues with his play on the field. Did I want more playoff wins, more Super Bowls? Of course. That's what we all want. But the off-the-field stuff, him not wanting to be here, kind of holding the team hostage, Scott, I'm done with all of that. So if he chooses to move on, no ill will. I'll certainly be watching him. I'll certainly be a fan of my team always, no matter who the quarterback is. But I'm pretty much done with Aaron Rodgers so as of this point.
I mean, I can understand your frustrations there, buddy, but if you watch Jordan Love probably play for a season or two, you'd be wishing you had Aaron Rodgers back. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we've seen some shitty quarterback play here recently, especially with COVID. I mean, I think it's even more obvious now to us, even the casual eyeballs that watch football, that if you don't have a good quarterback, I don't give a shit how good your team is. We've seen it with the Saints trying to bring in that Notre Dame Ian Book. I mean, that was a debacle. I mean, you see all these different guys trying to come in and fill the shoes there, some starters. It was just, I mean, it was eye-opening how bad some of these guys are. So just to see, some of these, the average backups that come in and how they come in and they do a decent job. I mean, I even given a little bit more respect to those guys, especially after these COVID issues. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you get a good quarterback, I mean, that's the only way to win. I mean, I think here in the NFL, it's very rare. Do you run into a season that we have a guy that's like a Joe, like a Trent Dilfer or a Flacco, somebody like that? The only reason they won is because they had a good running game and they had a just absolute studly defense that carried them across the finish line. But most times you need that quarterback. And I think it's hard to get one of these guys. It's obvious. I mean, here we even had Matt Stafford here for as long as we did, and all of a sudden he goes to the Rams. He's winning. He's doing well. I mean, I think it looks like they're favorites to get to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, obviously we wasted a guy. We had an opportunity. We didn't do anything with it. And I think if you guys end up with Love, I don't think he's the answer. I think you guys are going to struggle then to find somebody there. Maybe you get a free agent, maybe you don't. But I just think it's just so hard to get a guy of that caliber. I just, and I get the whole frustration about him being an asshole. But, yeah, I just think his play on the field is just that good. He's one of the top, 4 or 5. You can probably count on one hand as many guys that you would take over Aaron Rodgers, if at all that many. But, yeah, I think, I mean, if he really wants to have some balls, Come on over here and be the Lions quarterback if you want to stick it to the Packers. Man, I'll take you. I'll take him in a minute. He can spew all his bullshit on Pat McAfee all he wants. If he wants to zing around the football for the Honolulu Blue, I'll be one of the first ones to cheer for his silly ass. But yeah, Chris, I just think it's real tough to get a quarterback, and when you got one, I think you gotta embrace it.
Yeah, I mean, if he comes back, I'm not mad about it. And I've always said, again, people ask all the time, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you do on the football field? What you are away from it. Yeah, I'm sick of the drama, sick of that, all the stuff that goes with it. But as for on the field, of course, the guy has been phenomenal. But, you also ask a question. I mean, a lot of years of elite production, won Super Bowl. Now, again, Lions fans are saying, we'd be glad to have one Super Bowl. We'd be glad to be in the playoffs every year. So it's just different levels of expectations that certain teams have. The Lions are heading in the right direction. And that, that's what you should be excited about if you're a Lions fan right now. Green Bay fans are torn on this. Some still love Aaron Rodgers. I don't have disdain for Aaron Rodgers. Just my point. And Scott, it's anything in life. If you don't want to be here, whether it's a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, a quarterback, a job, then go be where you're going to be happy. That's what I want for people. You do you. He wants to move on. Again, no ill will. And if he's looking for a new place to live out in Denver, well, then he needs to give a call to Better Rate Mortgage, a new sponsor here of the show. Better Rate Mortgage, family, more than blood. If you are looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, get treated better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit mybetterrate.com, or you can give them a call, 248-480-4467. So, Aaron, if you are out there listening, you're looking to move to Denver, I know My Better Rate is a local company, but I'm sure they can help you in that search. But if you guys are looking locally, the best in the business, give them a call today, or again, mybetterrate.com, one of the great sponsors here of the Woodward Bet Show. All right, let's talk a little NBA here tonight, Scott. Oh, look at this. Detroit Beastie just showing up on the scene here. We know we got NHL on the docket. Scott's NHL knowledge was smashed for 4 goals last night in the first period. So let's not bury the lead. We'll talk some NBA here momentarily, but we got Beastie on board, 10 games on the NHL slate. So welcome in, my man. How are we doing on this fine Thursday evening?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here. And I heard you talking about Aaron, and, ultimately it's up to us to make that decision. Do you, and do what makes you happy. And I'm telling you right now, boys, I'm happy here with you. And this is where I want to be. I'm not going to Denver. I'm not going to Green Bay. No offense, Beer, but this is where I want to be with you boys at Woodward Sports. When we look through the slate here, I've said it a million times, personally to you, Scott, even on a broadcast with you, Beer, when we look at a slate like this, you could, normal folks, casual fans, even myself, a seasoned DFS veteran, and Beer, you got more accolades than I do here, but you look at this 10 games on here, it can get overwhelming. So I learned that early on. First thing I do is I cut the slate in half, then I cut it in half again, and then I kind of pick and choose maybe 4 different line combinations, and I stack it every which way but Sunday. And that's what I'm doing here tonight. I love the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. I love Tampa Bay. So we're going to stick with those 2 teams. Anaheim heads to Montreal this evening. And look, Montreal, they're bad news right now. They're sitting in last place in the Atlantic Division. They've only games 8-26-7 on the year. And last time out, they were absolutely beat down. Scott, you'll remember this. The Minnesota Wild scored 8 goals on them the other day. That was one of my favorite stacks of the night. And they racked up 8 goals against, it's a bummer. You love to see, original 6 teams do well, but Montreal just doesn't have the smoke right now, as you want to say. And the Canadians coming in, they're scoring about 2.17 goals a game. So to me, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks are just going to absolutely smash them. And again, I know it might sound crazy, but hey, you're kind of making a living off doing this stuff. I think Anaheim scores 6+ goals in this one. I know it's outlandish, but hey, if you're looking for DFS NHL content, you found it here with Beastie and Woodward Sports here. For that reason, I love Anaheim's first line combination. You could sites, the DFS sites, They might, I'm not saying they give misinformation, but go and check the line combinations on your own on an independent site here. So Anaheim's first line, center, Ryan Getzlaf, he's their captain, Troy Terry, and Richard Raquel. Anaheim, they're coming off a very good game. I believe they scored 4 or 5 goals last time. 3 guys play on the unit with a guy like Hampus Lindum. This guy is a second-line defenseman, but he logs like 24 minutes a game. He's seeing power play 1 ice time, power play 2 ice time, and he plays on the second lineup. And then if you want to run it back, I've already booked this stuff. I wrote it down here. I love the idea of stacking Anaheim's first line with Tampa Bay's first line. We know the Lightning, Stevie Y we trust here, but Stevie Y is still seeing the fruits of his labor here in Tampa Bay. And when you look at their first line, very doable against the New Jersey Devils in this one. Tampa Bay, they're finally home after just a long, elongated 28-10 this season, and they've won 4 of their last 5 games, beating San Jose 7-1, beating Edmonton, I believe 3-4, something along those lines here. So to me, Tampa Bay is in the money tonight in terms of their first line. Again, I think, let me look down here at my notes. I think Tampa hangs 4 or 5 goals in this one. So give me Tampa Bay's first line. Let me read what I have for their lines here. Their Braden Point, first line, Anthony Cirelli, line right wing, and then Anjay Palat, first line left wing here. All 3 guys, first power play unit, a little bit of action with Steven Stamkos on that first power play, and Victor Hedman, a stud, just an unbelievable talent on the blue line, their defenseman there. So to me, any which way you slice it, I've already booked this stuff. Anaheim 1, Tampa Bay 1. Fits perfectly across the board in DFS formats. And then you can run it back Tampa Bay 2, Anaheim 2, and then you just get in all those combinations. My pen has feverishly been writing all morning into the afternoon so I can bring the best hockey advice I can to you boys. And again, I would never ask anybody to do something I wouldn't do. So that's why I mention it a few times. The stuff's already booked. It's just sitting pretty, waiting to go. So that's what I got for hockey tonight, boys.
All right, love it.
Man.
Got any thoughts on the hockey here tonight?
Man, who breaks it down better than that, Beer? I mean, pretty easy for me. I
Awesome.
mean, while he was talking here, I was looking, Tampa Bay is a minus 333 favorite. So obviously they should have their way with New Jersey there. So, yeah, I mean, I always write this stuff down. I get in there and Beastie says, stack up the lines. I stack up the lines, and usually seems to work out pretty well here. Always in the green. So, yeah, that's why we sneak Beastie in here. We want to give everybody the best we can. So Beastie is he's the hockey guru here. I tried to dip some hockey yesterday, Chris. We saw what happened. I got my hand whacked. No. You and I went in that first period there. I thought that first period for the Red Wings last night was a pretty good one. And shit, 4-0. Man, talk about getting shot in the foot there. But yeah, we love when Beastie brings us the NHL heat.
Absolutely.
And if you want a secondary stack, sorry to cut you off, look at Nashville tonight. Nashville Predators, I love them, and I love Carolina 1 too. I know to keep it as simple as possible, Anaheim and Tampa Bay, but if you want, overreach or overextend here, look at Carolina and Nashville as well. Nashville's been playing hot. We're looking at 4 or 5 goals a game average, I believe, their last 3 or 4 times out.
Yeah, Anaheim 13 goals over the last 3 games. So certainly on a roll, like you mentioned. You like their total. Thoughts on the Red Wings last night? I want to get your recap. Obviously, a disappointing loss. A ton of scoring in that one, 8-5. So generally, you don't see hockey games rip 13 goals. So quick thoughts on last night's performance. Obviously, disappointing, allowing 8 goals. But what else did you see in that game?
Yeah, I was hanging around social media. I was at home doing a few things, and I saw Woodward Sports Zone. Nick Leach commented heading into the third period. Right, I believe the Wings, got it close. It was 4-3 before the third period started, and Nick had tweeted something out that said, "What Red Wing organization are we going to get in the third period?" And 2 seconds after I commented, Chicago had already scored 2 more goals here. So the third period was a tough watch. Again, they were within a goal, headed into the third period, and then to give up 4 goals in the third period. I don't care what the organization is. You're going to be hard pressed to win a game like that, giving up 4 goals in any period, let alone the third period at home against I've never liked the Chicago Blackhawks. I hate their logo. I mean, just a bad news organization for me personally. I don't know ill will towards any of the players or coaches here. It's just a long-standing, we just don't like each other. And for them to hang 8 goals at Little Caesars Arena, that stinks. Again, it's kind of like back to the drawing board. But hey, again, earlier in the season or even halfway through to this point now, it was all kind of coming up sunshine and rainbows for them. They're young kids. They're progressing. Mo Sider is a year ahead of what Nick Lindstrom was. Larkin's. I mean, you had all these good rosy storylines here. And so to me, a game like this is just that, back to the drawing board. I would like to think that losing helps build character, and this team is going to have a ton of character if that's the kind of mindset here. But you chalk this one up, you go back, you move over it quick, right? You do some stuff on the dry erase board. This is where you're supposed to be. You weren't there. This is what happened, and you use it. It's just another tool in the tool bag going down the road here for these young kids to kind of grow and develop. So next time out, hey, they recognize the situation. Hey, we gave up 8 goals last time because I wasn't in this. You know what I mean? It just goes from start to finish with going over it, on the ice with the coaching staff. So again, we weren't expecting too much from the Wings this year. So just chalk it up as a loss, a lesson learned, and boom, we move on. We'll be better for it in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the points you mentioned, cutting the slate in half, I think is an important lesson when you're playing daily fantasy sports, whatever the sport is, whether it's a big NHL slate, usually Friday nights in the NBA, Wednesday nights are big. Baseball, Scott, that can be a 14, 15 games sometimes. So you have to find a way to narrow it down. You can't cover all of your bases. You can't play guys from every single team. You have to tell yourself that story, take your stands, pick the teams that you think are going to do well. And that's why I love the analysis, Beastie. It's to the point. It's here's 2 or 3 lines, 4 lines that I'm looking at. That's my core. And then I mix in some other stuff based on that. That's just the basis of a good DFS analyst and a DFS process for anyone out there. You don't have to be an analyst to have a process similar to that. So love how it's broken down into little segments, and take a tedious task, anything in life, break it down into smaller tasks. And I have to tell my kids this all the time. If you just keep your room clean every day, a little bit at a time, then it's not like an atomic bomb went off and it takes you all day and I don't want to clean and this is too hard and I'm bored. Like just get the job done. So to wrap that all up, well done as always. We appreciate you jumping in. So I'm sure you got some best bets. So hang on if you can. Let's talk a little NBA here tonight, boys. Just 2 games in the NBA. So a little bit different than breaking things down smaller. NBA, we got to dig a lot deeper to find some plays here. So let's go over the injuries. Not as drastic of a list as we normally have. So just a few names here. Draymond Green remains out for Golden State. So we'll continue to see Jonathan Kuminga playing some minutes there. Seth Curry out for the Philadelphia 76ers. Shake Milton also out there, so they will be thin some guards. Andre Iguodala remains out for Golden State as well. Questionable tags tonight on Patrick Beverley for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Danny Green also questionable for Philadelphia. So they could be down. Curry, Green, and Shake Milton. So let's look at DFS and NBA tonight. Again, it's a little bit different. 10 games, 2 games. We always talk about these small slates, you guys, and ways to be different. Leaving salary on the table is certainly one of those, and certainly something you're going to want to look at and do on the slate tonight. But Scott, we'll start with you. Some of the best plays in your eyes tonight in the NBA in DFS.
Well, Joel Embiid be a guy you pretty much got to start with, especially with his usage lately. I think he's a guy you got to play. Steph Curry is another guy, 9,500. I think you could use him. I mean, if you fade Embiid, you could always go with Karl Anthony Towns if you wanted to go that route. I think that's a decision you got to make if you want to pay up the 11.4 for Embiid on FanDuel or just go with the 9,300 of Karl Anthony Towns. But some value, I think you got to look at Patrick Beverley tonight, Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Looney, I think is a guy, especially without Draymond, you got to look at. Tobias Harris is a guy I think is going to get a lot of opportunities tonight as well. And then maybe a cheap guy, Stanley Johnson, maybe a Malik Monk, somebody like that for the Lakers. But Chris, I mean, really, it's Joel Embiid, or do you want to play him, or do you want to go with maybe Curry and Towns? But Embiid's the elephant in the room. The guy's been putting up numbers that have just been absolutely incredible lately. So I think on a 2-gamer, Chris, I think that's too hard for me to fade. I think I'd just jam him in and try to get different elsewhere.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be very popular on the slate, and with good reason. Like you mentioned, he has been smashing. So he'll have a lot of ownership. Curry, like you mentioned, will have the ownership. Tyrese Maxey of Philadelphia, we mentioned all of the guards that are missing, and he's kind of filling the bill there at both the point guard and the shooting guard position. He'll be highly owned. You mentioned Looney without Draymond Green playing well. So, yeah, out of those guys, I think Embiid probably the one that you have to have, but you can go to Karl-Anthony Towns, like you mentioned, Scott. I mean, he's had a solid history against Golden State. He scored 40 or more DraftKings points now in 7 straight games, couple 50s in there. No Draymond Green is their premier defender, a little smaller, but a guy that can certainly defend these bigger centers. So without him in there, does make that matchup appealing. Now in DraftKings, you can fit both of those guys. You're going to have to dig out some value plays to make that work, but certainly can do that. As far as the value goes, Maxey stands out as one of the better plays. Korkmaz there with Philadelphia, going to play a ton of minutes, so he'll get more run. Jared Vanderbilt, a guy that we've seen flashes of with Minnesota. He could be a guy to play at the power forward position. If Beverly plays, I don't mind him. Always brings some upside to the table with his ability to touch all the different categories of the stat sheet. And then Matisse Thybulle there with Philadelphia. If they're down 3-4 guys, we can dig pretty deep on their bench with the 76ers beyond Embiid and Maxey. I think there'll be some solid plays there with Korkmaz and Thybulle. Beastie, any thoughts here on this small little 2-gamer in the NBA?
No, you guys covered it literally and with a fine-tooth comb the last few minutes over. I love Korkmaz. Again, anything I do at DFS, we know all the studs to play and, the big money guys. And I've just always been predisposed to those cheap dudes like Korkmaz. I believe he's only $4,500 on FanDuel. I think I have him for like 32, 33 total minutes. Same thing with Jared Vanderbilt here, the power forward for Minnesota. Personally, I like the idea of stacking up Minnesota, all those guys, Korkmaz, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards too. I thought that was the guy, the actor from ER, but no, he's a basketball player, plays for Minnesota here. Looking to him, I think Edwards is going to be on the cusp of playing 40 minutes. You're looking at 37 to 38 total minutes there for only $7,300. No brainer. And Jared Vanderbilt, as you've said, only $6,100 on FanDuel. The matchup on the court defensively fits him to a T. Golden State 24th or 25th overall against opposing power forward. So to me, I'm paying a lot of attention to the Minnesota this evening.
Edwards feels a little bit too cheap, and we saw his upside the other night. I mean, 40 points, well over 60 fantasy points in that one. So he is certainly a guy you can look at. D'Angelo Russell as well. Those Minnesota guys, like you mentioned, it's not just Karl-Anthony Towns. D'Angelo Russell gets himself a little revenge game here against his former team as well. Pretty cheap across both sites. Guys, any quick thoughts on Anthony Davis, a guy we know is working back in to the lineup? LeBron questionable tonight, dealing with that left knee injury. LeBron always seems to be questionable and plays. Anthony Davis seems to be questionable and never plays, but he is probable here tonight. Just 25 minutes in that last game, but are they going to need him against Embiid? Scott, I know Scott has disdain for Anthony Davis. I could see him scowling and shaking his head and never playing Anthony Davis here, but 2 gamers, sometimes you got to get uncomfortable. Is Anthony Davis a guy that you're interested in, or not going to play enough minutes, or maybe too expensive? Scott, I'll start with you, your favorite player in the NBA, good old AD.
I can't stand that guy, man. I mean, he's got his own Twitter page that's, when is AD going to be out? It's always constant with that guy. I've been burned so many times by that guy. I just can't take it. I mean, there's just other things for me to do. I mean, if I was playing multiple teams, sure, maybe I'd throw one in. But if I'm only playing 2 or 3 teams, I'm not wasting one of my spots on that bum.
All right, latest news on Patrick Beverly. Sounds like they're leaning towards him not playing. So maybe scratch him from the list here tonight. Jalen Noel, another cheap Minnesota guy that we can look at here in his stead. And one injury note, Nasir Little of Portland. It looks like he's going to miss some significant time here with an injury. So, Beastie, any final thoughts here in the NBA before we move on to best bets?
No, I mean, no offense, but I'm going to put all my efforts into NHL tonight. 2 games, a basketball slate. Worst case, I can run an optimizer, but where's the fun in that? The fun is what we're doing, hand building and combing through the line combinations. And to be fair, I'm with Scott on this one. Anthony Davis, just that kind of mindset. It always bugs me. Again, I'm not a professional athlete, but this guy, it's a hangnail will keep him out a week. So to me, all thumbs down on Anthony Davis, and move all your funds to NHL. Why not?
I love it. The hockey talk. Love it. Scott, before we get into best bets, so we got to talk some best cannabis here. One of the new sponsors of the show. Why don't you let the people know all about Jars Cannabis?
Yeah, I mean, bake and rake. You build some DFS lineups, but Jars Cannabis Company, shopjarscannabis.com. They offer deliver, pickup, and in-store shopping. Michigan's largest variety of any of the lifestyle needs. Jars Cannabis, a medical and recreational retailer located throughout Michigan, Lansing, Detroit, Flint, Grand Rapids, and more. And Chris, hey, if you mention the Woodward Sports or Woodward BetsNet show here, you get 20% off at any Jars location. So, hey, it's like you spend $100, we get you a couple free pre-rolls. So there you go. From us to you here at the Woodward Bet Show. Get yourself a couple little pre-rolls, and hey, tweet us back. Let us know. Let our sponsor know that you went out there. We definitely appreciate that. But Chris, I actually think I do have a shirt. I know there's a couple. I think it's RotoWear, isn't it, Chris? We always seen that.
Yes.
I think I got a shirt from them that says "Bake and Rake," and it's a baseball shirt, and I always got a kick out of that one. But yeah, glad to have Jars here sponsoring the show.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you guys are going to check them out for all of your needs in that department. We appreciate their support here, and welcome to the Woodward Bets family. All right, we got a 3-man booth. That means a lot of best bets, boys. So the record's been solid this week. But as I always say, we're only as good as today. So Beastie will let you lead off with some hockey best bets. Feel free to mix in NBA if you want, but I'm thinking you're going to stick with the ice here. Give the people your absolute favorite bets for the NHL tonight. What do you got?
Awesome. I got a nice 3-leg parlay. Will net you a couple $100, depending on how much you're going to put out. I love the Anaheim Mighty Ducks minus a goal and a half. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. You can literally set that one in stone, along with Tampa Bay minus a goal and a half as they play at home against the New Jersey Devils. I think Tampa wins 4-1. I think Anaheim wins 6-1. So take both teams minus a goal and a half. In the Anaheim game, if you want to tease it up to minus 2 goals and a half, 2.5 goals, 3.5 goals, whatever you can get away with, Anaheim will win by 4 or 5 goals. And to throw a little, honey on this whole thing, take the Nashville Predators in Anaheim tonight, plus 100. Everybody turns their attention to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl here, and they're like the end-all, be-all for hockey here. But I think Nashville sneaks one out in Edmonton tonight, 5-3. So Nashville plus 100, Anaheim minus a goal and a half, and the Tampa Bay Lightning minus a goal and a half. My little 3-leg parlay there. Break it up or play it all together, boys.
Love it. All right, Scott, you're up. I'm sure you're going to snake some of my NBA bets here, so I'll allow you to go first. We'll see if we're on the same page here. Best bets, Scott. What do you got for Thursday night?
Actually, Chris, I do not have any NBA. I got 2 college basketball games, actually. Both of them in the Big Ten. So I'm going to be looking at the Gophers. I like the Gophers getting the points at home, the 6.5. The Gophers are 4-0 against the spread in the series, and 4-1 with the including the Big Ten championship. The Buckeyes are 2-5 straight up, 1-6 against the spread away from home this year. So I think the Gophers are going to be looking for a little revenge on their season-ending loss last year to Ohio State in the opening round of the Big Ten tournament. So I'm going to take the Gophers here, getting the 6.5 at home. And then, Chris, I am actually going to take your Badgers, giving 7.5 to Nebraska. They're going to Nebraska. I just think the Badgers are going to be a little bit too much here. The Badgers are 8-2 in their last 10 games, 6-4 against the spread. Nebraska struggled a little bit, so I will give the 7.5 to Nebraska at home, and I will take the Badgers.
All right, so we got some NHL, we got some college basketball here in the Big Ten, and of course, I'm going to go in the NBA. 2 games, I'm going to give you my favorite bet out of each game. The first game, LA and Philadelphia, should be a good one. Guys, I'm going over on this one. 217, a little bit low. Philly has been more of an under team, but LA, 27 of their 48 games have gone over the total here. So Anthony Davis back certainly helps. As much as we don't want to play him in DFS, I certainly understand that. It is more offense here. Joel Embiid has been going nuts. So even with some of the guys missing, I think they're going to go over the total here. So over for me in that one. And then in the nightcap, a little torn on this one, but I'm going with Minnesota plus the points. I mean, Golden State, without their best defender in Draymond, without Iguodala, this young Timberwolves team playing well with Edwards, with Russell, with Karl Anthony Towns. I think they hang in this game. They have the potential to win this game. So I don't hate a money line play on Minnesota as well. I know Golden State been phenomenal here. Most of the public is going to be all over Golden State. Another reason I like Minnesota here, plus the 6 points in the nightcap. So how many? What do we got here? 3, 5, 7 best bets on the board. So plenty of action here tonight in all of the different sports. So we got you covered. So no money gun today, Scott. No rubbing money on it today. I mean, it's got to be somewhere close by.
I got the money gun, Chris.
There we
We
go.
got all kinds of money around here.
Flying
Let's
around.
go.
Absolutely love it. So, guys, final thoughts. Beastie, we'll let you lead off here. What do you got for the people?
Yeah, it's Thursday at the end of January. Take it in. We're a few days away from one of, if not my most favorite days of the week or year, actually, Championship Sunday. Because again, in a month or two, we're going to be wishing we had NFL action. We're going to be wishing we could put in some point spreads on some NFL. So stop, take it in, and let's enjoy. Going to be one heck of a football weekend.
All right, next up, we got Jeff Fisher patrolling the sidelines that we're talking football about. So enjoy the high-level football while you got it. I absolutely can't wait for Sunday. Scott, final thoughts for the people. What do you got?
Man, we appreciate everybody listening. As always, just always hit that subscribe button for us. Hit that like button. We always appreciate that. But, man, 7 best bets, Chris. I'm going to get me a couple different parlay combinations. I might even parlay them all together. And man, if we go 7-0, we're going to be, we might have to make us a special trip down there to Freddy's and get us some pizzas and stuff our bellies with some pizzas. Those are always fun. But yeah, looking forward to sitting down with some of my jars cannabis tonight and watch some games. And I'm going to hang out and see how our bets do.
That would be one hell of a parlay. So if you guys are out there, you know, you're using any of these bets, send us a screenshot. Hit us up at Woodward Bets. I'd love to see you guys winning money out there. That's a big reason why we do the show. We want to help you guys make your process easier. We know a lot of people don't have the time to dig in and do the notes like Beastie and do the studying like we all do. We want to make life a little bit easier on you. So if you're out there winning some money with some of these picks, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter at Woodward Bets. And again, one last shout out to MyBetterRateMortgage.com. Make sure you're checking them out for all of your mortgage needs. MyBetterRate.com, or you can give them a call, 248-480-4467. Again, come get treated like family with Better Rate Mortgage. All right, guys, that will do it here for the show. We'll be back tomorrow. Big slate in the NBA. We'll continue to look at the NFL. We'll close out the show as we always do with some of our favorite bets for Friday night and recap everything we saw on the ice and on the hardwood from Thursday night. So for Detroit Beastie, for Scott, for our boy Spencer behind the glass, I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the games tonight. Best of luck with your bets, and we are out.